Hello and welcome to another edition of Tough Talking Thursday. My name is Dennis Jai and we are broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. We want to welcome all our viewers from across the globe. This is Tough Talking Thursday, a time we talk tough on political issues happening right there in our country, Liberia. With me to talk tough, I have our chief political analyst, Mr. Wilmot Kunney, who is joining us from the city of brotherly love. Mr. Kunney, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Thank you, Dennis. Thank you for having me on.
Also joining us from the state of 10,000 lakes, is that how we call it?
Mr. Ansony, got that right.
Who is the host of the Hour of Politics. He's going to be talking politics tonight. Mr. Sieh, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Danny, thanks so much for having me. As always, Tough Talking Thursday is my favorite political show. I'm happy to be here to handle business.
Let's do it. We want to welcome all our viewers from across the globe. In today's edition, the CPP primary, or you could say consensus building, or using the VPS, whatever form it may take, it is shaping up. We can clearly see that there are two front runners, Honorable Joseph Boakai and Honorable Alexander B. Cummings. The two are the front runner in what's supposed to be a CPP primary in their quest to unseat the incumbent President George Manneh Weah. So tonight we're going to be discussing Mr. Alexander Cummings versus Mr. Joseph Boakai. Who's going to win? Who is poised or who is more favorable to unseat President Weah? Because I think as far as the opposition is concerned, there is one goal: to make President Weah a one-term president. Let's get this started. Invite a friend and join the show. We're going to be making some analysis tonight. And if you are here, please be ready, very sharp to join in, criticize us, call in to share your views, make comments, and we're going to get this going. I want to say a big welcome to all our viewers. I want to say welcome, Mr. Kunney. We should have had two more persons, but due to some reasons, they are not able to be here. But we are forging ahead. In today's edition, we say Mr. Joseph Boakai, candidate from the Unity Party, versus Alexander Benedict Cummings of the Alternative National Congress. Gentlemen, welcome. CPP, that's the, it looks like we really have two parties now, CPP and CDC, but that's another story. I want us to start like this, right? First, give me your opening statement, Mr. Cummings, or Mr. Kunney. Let's start with you.
Well, I think what Liberians saw this week, this going week, is a dress rehearsal of the political fight that will take place in the CCP in their quest to unseat the current government. Liberians, both at home and abroad, had the opportunity to listen to two of the most prominent voices in the CPP. And I think their presentation is an eye-opener for a lot of people. It is safe to say that, in my opinion, Honorable Boakai's presentation to the Liberian people was very weak, self-serving, characterized by a lot of embellishment, and frankly, in my view, went close to real tabata. As opposed to Mr. Alexander Cummings, I think Cummings made a presentation that deserved serious review and analysis. And as the time goes by, we have the opportunity to dissect the two. But in summary of the two presentations made by the two political leaders, I found Mr. Cummings' presentation much more strong and something that needs to be reviewed and analyzed as we go forward in this political process.
Thank you, Mr. Kunney. Mr. Sieh, your opening remarks.
Dennis, clearly you are right to have said that it looks like we have two outstanding front runners. I know DeLong Sieh is saying he will be a candidate, but for now, we know that the primary will more so be between Honorable Joseph Boakai and Mr. Alexander Benedict Cummings. People who will be participating in the primaries, if they will get to one, because their framework says they will have to do a consensus. And it is clear to me that that consensus will not produce the candidate for the CPP. So some way, somehow, they will cross over VPS because VPS is not binding anyway. And sometimes you wonder, then what is the need? But that is their framework. So to the primaries, I can say for certain the people will be voting on the basis of who is best suited, who is better qualified, and who has the right and better experience. We know they are all qualified. If you look at the Constitution, we know they have experiences that are unique in terms of executive leadership because they all been in executive positions. But it is about who has the better experience, who has the better qualification, and also the right qualification for the job. Because the job will not only be about how Liberians view you, it will more so be about how the international community will see you. Then, as you know, we are in a global village now. So all those factors will be taken into consideration. And finally, the voters will be looking at who will pull the greater number for the CPP. Those are the factors I believe people will be looking at.
And we're going to get to those factors in a minute. I want to welcome our viewers from across the globe. This is Tough Talking Thursday. This is where we don't joke. As we play the song from the beginning, I don't need your tabata. And tabata in the Southeastern language means nonsense. There are some things that clearly tabata, and we call them as it is. If it is complete nonsense, say it. I think you said it right. We have two front runners in the CPP, and I think it will end with that. I will see there are some people who are floating trial balloons for Mr. Darius DeLong, but I think that was complete tabata. The two candidates will be going. So let's start like this. What will it take for a candidate, either Joe Boakai or Alex Cummings, to win a CPP primary? Consensus, maybe not. I think the way the battle lines are drawn now, we see that we are going for a primary. What will it take for a candidate to win a CPP primary? Let me start with you, Mr. Sieh.
Dennis, to win a CPP candidate, they will fantasize about a process of primary where the members of the constituent political parties in the CPP to be given an opportunity to vote, right? That would be in the mix. That is the democratic process. Our hope is that they should be able to allow the people to make the decision. Our hope is that they should be able to go from county to county and give their partisans in the various counties to participate. What I don't want to see is a Moravia process, which has for the most part been the case, and that is something Mr. Kunney maybe you can agree with me here. We want a competitive primary process that involves the participation of all the partisans of the parties in the various political subdivisions. So I want to see them moving from county to county, counting the ballots, and it should be transparent. That's what we hope to see. Now, I was trying to tell you earlier, that will be pretty much the fed, of the political process. There will be, money will be a big factor. People will try to use money. There will be cultural deals, politically speaking, because people will mostly be focusing on who's going to give all the greatest number at the end of the day. Will it be Cummings? whereas some people will be focusing on the issue of credibility, the issue of perception, something we might get to later on in the discussion. So these are the variables that will serve as some kind of an impetus to move people in different dimensions throughout the political process. So it may get murky, politically speaking, but at the end of the day, we may have a candidate, and maybe worst case scenario, we may not have a CPP standing. But we all hope for the best.
Mr. Kunney, what will it take for any of the candidates to win the primary in the CPP?
Well, this is the first thing I would suggest that they do. First, there has to be a clear definition of the rules that will go into the process. We do not want to see a repeat of what occurred in Nimba County, where the rules were very clear as to who will participate in that particular primary. And like Ansony alluded to, some influence from Monrovia and other quarters interfere with that process in Nimba. And we saw the result that came from there. It would be very tragic if the CPP would follow that same model. So first thing, there has to be clear definition of rules as to who will represent the constituent parties at the various county level. This is an election for national president. This is not a Monrovia primary. So all of the counties will have to have a say, but then there has to be clear rules as to who at the level of the different counties will represent the constituent parties. Then what it takes for one to become the standard bearer would be the ability of that particular candidate to appeal to the delegates that would be at whatever convention. Now, I know the three parties, they might opt for equal representation of delegates. So in that scenario, somebody will have to cross over, or else if each party vote their candidate, there will be no winner. So I think the way one emerges as a candidate in the CPP will depend on how one will come across by the rest of the delegates, whether there will be this crossover from other parties to endorse a particular candidate. But in order for that result to be legitimate and be credible, first of all, the rules will have to be defined as to who is the delegate that represents this constituent element from each of the parties, so that at the end of the day, we can have a transparent process, a very legitimate process, and that if a decision is made, the CCP can come from that process intact, instead of the result that we saw in Nimba County, the tar one way, the Edith Gonglo scenario. That would be very ugly, very ugly for the CPP.
And right now we are seeing something that looked like a bad knuckles fight. You see on social media, the supporters of each of the will-be candidate, they are attacking each other. But let's look at the CPP voters. What will CPP voters be looking for most? Will it be electability? Will it be seniority? They say, oh, for instance, when I say seniority, VP Boakai was already VP. So what are you talking about? He can't be anything else. Or will it be someone with the deepest pocket? Or will it be someone who has the ability to unseat Weah? Mr. Cummings, you have been around these political things for so long. What will CPP candidates or CPP voters be looking for most?
You keep calling me Cummings.
Maybe you're coming wrong.
But listen,
Mr. Kunney.
Listen, it has to be a combination of all of the variables that you talk
about. But give me the top one.
The top one, to be honest with you, would be a new vision. It would be a new vision. What vision that person is putting forward. All of the other things you're talking about, seniority and the cash issue, the money issue, they will all be part of it. But I think we are reaching a point where Liberians are beginning to ask themselves, what kind of country do I want to live in? What kind of political leadership do I want to elect? So I think it will go to the core issues of the vision that person is presenting to the electorate. I know we cut across so many ways. There will always be ethnic considerations. There will always be the age sympathy considerations. All of these considerations will be there. But I believe that if somebody come out of the gate with a clearly defined vision, easy to understand, that they can present to the partisans of the CPP, I want to believe that candidate will have a better standing than someone that would be holding to the old conventional wisdom. I think.
Let me go to Mr. Sieh, because I don't know when was the last time people in primary look at vision. But Mr. Sieh, let me come to you about the CPP vote. I don't know. You studied this thing a lot, where parties sends voters in a primary look at platform. I think we already hearing that hey, we need someone who has a national appeal, or someone who has money. So you tell me, what would CPP voters be looking for?
Dennis, you would think that voters or partisans will be voting people on the basis of what Mr. Kunney was talking about, vision, their plan. They will be basing their voting on the issue of credibility. For the most part, in Liberia, it has never been the case. This case has been, he is a member of my party. The case has also been, he is a member of my ethnic group. These has been pretty much the determining factors of how individuals, go to vote for a candidate. That will play out too. The people who are in the ANC will vote for Cummings. The people who are in the Unity Party will vote for Boakai. You mentioned the issue of electability. That should be the key determining factor, because if there is any unity at all in the CPP, that is the idea of being against George Weah to make him a one-term president. That is something they agree on. They are unified with that idea. So on the issue of electability, they might more so be weighing and reflecting on past election results and say, hey, Omen Boakai got more votes. You also talk about the issue of seniority. Joseph Boakai has served as vice president for 12 years. They need him because he brings votes. So he must be in the mix at all costs. Where do you place him? Do you make him number two? Conventional wisdom said no, he can't continue to be number two. And so at the end of the day, people will be voting for Boakai because, one, Boakai, they feel that it makes no sense for him to become number two again, to be vice president for the second time. Two, they are Unity Party folks, and they believe that he won more votes than Cummings last election, so he should be at the head of the ticket. Whereas the folks in the ANC and other Liberians who are independent in their thought process will say, look, Boakai is old now, but if should he be elected, then he will be at the age of 80. Do we want to inaugurate an 80-year-old man to be our president in a challenging economy like ours that will require somebody who will work overtime to resuscitate the economy? So ANCers will be weighing at his age factor, and all these things, looking at Cummings' own resume. They say, look, Cummings is not tinted. He has not been in politics in Liberia. He has not worked in any government in Liberia. So he has some form of credibility, not only in Liberia, but more so in the international community. He is a business executive. Maybe through him, corporate America, corporate or Europe, and all these people will come to invest in Liberia, something we desperately need as a country when you're talking about foreign direct investment.
Thank you. Mr. Kunney. No, I'll call you Wilmot now. Wilmot, let me.
Why you keep calling me Cummings?
It seems to be Dennis one Cummings to be president of Liberia.
No, Cummings is our Atlanta native, but I don't have a side here.
Yeah.
But let's say that we have 4 collaborating parties. So if ANC folks vote ANC, Unity Party folks vote Unity Party, we see that ALP is Unity Party leading. I don't know how many members they have, and LP will be like the one that they will be fighting over. So would that be the area where more work need to be done, Mr. Kunney?
Let me start with this one, Dennis.
Yeah.
And I like you brought this other aspect of it in, and this is where the politics will play. If you look at the ALP, the Party of Benin Europe, right? Politically speaking, if you know any members of the ALP, I guess you will call Benin Yure himself. I guess you will call Mr. Costa. I guess you will call Telia Yure. These are the three known individuals who are partisans of the ALP that most Liberians know. I'm saying this to say that members of that particular political party are not known. They are not politically active. There are very few. But what I know also then is that these political parties in the arrangement are equal in terms of membership. They are all members of the collaborating political parties. That also means that they will all send equal amount of delegates. The playing field has to be level. So the LAP folks, Benin and is already supporting Ambassador Joseph Boakai. And then Costa is support. Let's say the LAP is supporting ALP. Thank you. The ALP is supporting Joseph Boakai. So Boakai got that in his corner. So Cummings has to do a lot of work to see how he can get votes from the Liberty Party. So if he can strike a deal with the Liberty Party, then it would be equal numerically. That is holding all things constant, where the equal number of voters on the ALP side are saying we're going for Boakai. Holding all things constant, you're saying all the total number of voters on the Liberty Party side going for Cummings. Now, then the politics and the money come into play. Now, you see Cummings is working with Liberty Party. I can tell you that. We saw him with Hassan Belete, who is the chairman. They sat on a mat. They went in the marks. So he knows that. So when you see Cummings saying, I'm going to win this thing, he's betting on the fact that he has Liberty, Hassan Belete's ear. Yeah. And I'm sure he might have gotten some assurances from the Liberty Party folks that, look, if you get Massa, maybe we can win the thing. But then it's not over yet until it's over and you know how the people play the game.
And continuing with that, Mr. Kunney, we also see that there are trial balloons being floated for Mr. Abraham Darius DeLong. And so if ALP and Unity Party one side, let's say if each have 100 delegates, that would be 200 for Mr. Boakai. So with the Liberty Party, there the work needs to be done. And with Mr. DeLong flirting with the candidacy, that presents a tough challenge for Mr. Cummings. Your take?
Yeah, listen, whatever Mr. Cummings, whatever he carry out, the tax would be difficult for him. The tax would be difficult for Ambassador Boakai as well. But as I indicated the other day, the CPP will have to really define its goal. Do you want a very serious competitive candidate in the race? And if that is your goal, clearly, the person that fit that bill is Alexander B. Cummings. It's Alexander B. Cummings. This guy has serious proposals. He has a serious understanding of the issues. And sometimes when you make this assessment, people talk about Ambassador Boakai's electoral numbers. Sometimes you got to dig deeper into those numbers. Some of the numbers that Ambassador Boakai has, those numbers they are tilted towards one county. AB Cummings may have lower percentage of voters, but his voters are spread throughout the country. So these are things that you will have to evaluate. Do you want a candidate with a nationwide appeal, or do you want a candidate with regional appeal? These are questions that CPP delegates will have to answer. Then the question is, Who has the baggage of the last 12 years? Who has the baggage of the last 12 years? The corruption of the last 12 years? All of these issues that we're talking about, who has that baggage? Do you want to return the country's attention to the last 12 years with all of these allegations and issues of corruption, malfeasance, non-feasance, everything that took place in that 12 years? Or do you want to start with a clean slate? These are all decisions that we have to make. And I believe that if the discussion comes to that level, Alexander Cummings, it will be he's stronger than Ambassador Boakai on all of those issues, and this is why I think he has the most. I mean, the most appeal for the CPP as a serious candidate going forward into the election. I don't think going back 12 years to pick somebody who was in the last 12 years, I don't think it would be a winning strategy.
And then if I may, just a minute here. All right.
30 seconds. Because
30 seconds. So of recent, we saw Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. Some people call her the political Maradona of Liberia. You are aware she visited Daros Dillon.
Let me stop you there because I don't like those comparisons. I
know,
want
right?
to say the political Santo Marias or the political Wani Boto. What's wrong with our players?
Thank you. Or the political Benande Wise, right? So, I mean, just as I was saying, Dennis, she met Dillon, she met Nyomli, and we see Dillon also facing the Liberty Party. So what I'm saying here is that Ellen was successful in cutting the legs of Ambassador Boakai the last election. She has people in the Unity Party that still look up to her. So she can cut in Boakai's support from the Unity Party and bring it to Alexander Cummings, or if you like, she can bring that support to the Liberty Party. And if the Liberty Party goes with Cummings, that is a plus for Cummings. It may likely get him to the top. And this is what I see. Dillon getting in the race. I think Dillon is getting in the race so that when he secures some votes, at the end of the day, should he come short, he will divert or direct that number of votes in favor of Cummings. That is what I see, because Dillon respects Ellen a lot. He listens to Ellen. And I think when he met Ellen at the time, he was like, excited that they met. And he said, if I have to meet Ellen, I would do it again. And he had cared less, about the perception or the optic that people were trying to talk about. So this is what I see. It will be interesting, Dennis.
Very interesting indeed. Now, let's come to this entire CPP framework, or the CPP, the collaboration, or the modus operandi, or the whole structure. How does the CPP structure support or favor a primary or a healthy primary? And Mr. Kunney, you were making that point earlier. And that's why I say, how does the CPP framework, how does the way they do business, how does it favor one candidate over the other?
And the reason why I was making reference to that point, many coalitions in the past died by this very process, where you bring the parties together, you put everybody on equal footing, and every party is required to send the same number of delegates. It was this system that doomed the 1997 coalition between the United People's Party, the Liberian People's Party, and other political parties during the Charles Taylor election. Because what you have in this scenario is that partisans of each of those parties, they go there to vote for their candidate. They go there to vote for their candidate. And this is why I said, for someone to emerge under that formula that they put together, for someone to emerge under that formula, that person will have to be persuasive to other delegates that come from other constituent parties. If there is no crossover, everybody will get the same number of votes.
Right, but the way it's set up, is it set up for disaster? Is it set up for confusion at the end? Or is it going to support a smooth primary?
Well, it could be smooth. First of all, like I said, if the rules are defined. If the rules are defined clearly, if the rules are not manipulated, it could produce a smooth result. Then, secondly, if people go to the primary with an open mind, because if you go there only to support your candidate, there will be no winner. So there should be delegates, there should be other partisans that will go with an open mind to say, look, this is what the CPP want to do. Who among our candidates fit the bill? If you don't have delegates going to these conventions or these primaries, I don't know whether it would be one primary or it would be different several primaries. If you don't have delegates going there with an open mind to cross party line to choose someone that is not in their party, then the process is not going to work. But the Achilles heel on it again, I keep making reference to, is the rules of the road, because it was the rule that led to the confusion in Nima. The implementation of the rules that led to the confusion in Nima. So
thank you, Mr. Kunney. You are using too many ifs. You know, if the rules are this, if they say we look at the Christmas Eve and tell how Christmas will look like. The CPP has been in operation for some time now. So I'm asking you, so let me go to you, Mr. Sieh. With what we've seen with the CPP so far, how does the framework, their structure, the way they operate and do business, how will it support a successful primary?
Dennis, we have to be factual here. The framework is not perfect, but when abide by, it's a good document. People just have to abide by the framework. Yes, the framework calls for a consensus, meaning heads of the constituent parties can get in one room and decide, is that going to produce the candidate? I'm saying no. The next thing, VPS, is just a perception to decide whether or not this person has a favorable look out there, politically speaking, but that's what it is. It's not going to decide who becomes the candidate, but they are saying it's a scientific mentor that going to inform the voters that, hey, the public out there see this person favorably. So you might be inclined to vote for the person. Somebody who is in Boakai's corner may see that result, but will not vote for Cummings. Should the voter perception survey favors Cummings, that person is not going to vote for Cummings anyway. Waste of time. Waste of time. So then the primary comes in. Now, the primary is set up. From what I know, I said it earlier, the constituent parties will each send equal delegates. The delegates will be approached by the candidates. They will use money. They will use other means. Not because I'm a unity party partisan. If some of them are giving assurances for the future, they will make a political calculation. This is what we see. Now, I have my friend Ben Savvy. Our friend Ben Savvy is watching here. At some point, when the Liberty Party could not continue in the process, individual members in the Liberty Party had to make a decision. Some went with Unity Party, some went with now President George Manawia. So that is what I'm saying. That's why the DeLon in the mix there, will bring about this same scenario to play out. So again, Dennis, at the end of the day, the process, I think, is fair to produce a smooth primary process, but it is left with individual to abide by the process, respect the process, and respect the outcome. If they should make a decision alone, will respect the process, will respect the outcome, they will come up with a candidate. At least for Cummings, he went on record to say, though I'm going to win this thing, though I must win this thing, but whoever wins, I will respect that. Can Josiah Boakai say that? Can any other person like Dylan say that? If they remain united to that, they should produce a ticket, because at the end of the day, they are united on one front. One idea, I continue to mention that. They want to unseat George Weah. So it should not matter most who has the ticket if that is their ultimate goal to make George Manawia president. And I think they should be more united about what plans, what ideas they have for Liberia. That should unify them or unite them more. If they do that, they shouldn't have problem.
Mr. Kunney, Mr. Boakai already said he's the only one who can take down or who can unseat Judge Weah. So let's come to that point. All of them are united on one front. That is, President Weah is, a bad president. We need to get him out. That's one thing they have resolved on.
Mhm.
What will it take for either Joseph Newman Boakai or Alexander Benedict Cummings to make President Weah a one-term president? What do they need to do? I know you're very uncomfortable because you don't want Weah to be a one-term president.
No, but listen, that's a tall order. I mean, it's a tough challenge for either of them to do that. It's a tall order for either of them to do that.
But what will it require for them to do it?
What is required for them to do is to present a different vision for the country. And that vision cannot come from Omen Boakai. Omen Boakai is part of the past 12 years of unprecedented corruption in Liberia. He's a creature of the swamp. He was created by the swamp. He lived by the swamp. He has no ability to reform the swamp. He believes that government should take care of you from cradle to grave. So he has no new idea. And this is why I think, from where I sit, the most serious person to pay attention to in the CPP camp is Mr. Cummings. I mean, I'm not saying it because I'm a supporter of the president.
The main question is, so what does Mr. Cummings need to do to unseat President Weah?
Mr. Cummings need to present a new vision of Liberia that would be different from what is going on. I think he's making effort in that direction. Some of his ideas I disagree with. He says he's going to fight corruption, but at this point he's unable to even shake himself from the shackles of corruption that is around him. So these are the things we'll be examining. I mean, if you say you're going to unseat President Weah and you're going to do things differently, but your current action, not speaking to what you say you're going to do, that creates a problem. You can't say you're going to fight corruption. It will be zero tolerance of corruption, and there will be no fruit that will be hard for you to pick. When the low-hanging fruit of individuals that have shady characters, are in your cycle, I was shocked the other day. Mr. Cummings was finding real difficulty to comment on the Samuka issue. This is a guy that is not even a member of the ANC, and Mr. Cummings is finding it difficult to even say what the court says. To say what the court says. So it's making me to think, if Samuka, who is not in Mr. Cummings' cycle, if Mr. Cummings is having this difficulty to even say what Samuka did, that the court that has been affirmed by the court, if he's having the difficulty to speak to that, what will he do for somebody that is actually in his cycle? So these are the assessments that we're making. He's strong in other areas, but the sign he's showing in other areas is weak. There are some good points he's making.
Thank you. Mr. Sieh.
Dennis.
Hold on, let me set this up.
Okay.
The economy is very bad under President Weah. People getting lost, there's no investigation. Sometimes I question where is justice for Liberians. Ganta is on fire. Even when at a time, even his own bodyguard was killed or died mysteriously. He was in Grand Group dancing Nyanya Gio. He's been a very terrible president, so to speak. What will it take? Because if sometimes you find that the president is weak or the president is doing very poorly, it makes the opposition so ill-prepared because they feel that anybody can beat him, right? So put on your political glasses and tell me, what will it take for either Boakai or Cummings to defeat President Weah and make him a one-term president?
Dennis, one simple thing it will take. That is a unified CPP that fees a single ticket. Whoever has that ticket, I repeat, it will take a unified CPP that fees a single ticket, no matter who has that ticket. Now, the issue of vision should be the determining factor. The issue of plans should be the determining factor. But Dennis, this is our country we're talking about. People don't vote on the basis of your ideas and your plans. It's about how popular you are, how they are connected to you through either politically or so those things will not matter at the end of the day. At the end of the day, what will matter is there is a unified CPP ticket. Now, will it matter who has the tickets? If you're looking at international perception, yes, it will matter. And who is better suited for that? I would say Cummings. And if you ask me why not Boakai, Mr. Kunney said it well. Now, the Unity Party is tinted in every respect. That's why that party was rejected. Boakai is a clear representation of everything that is wrong with Unity Party. And so there's no way he can resuscitate himself and divorce himself from the excesses of the past. After all, he's running on the party. After all, he was there for 12 years. So no, he cannot. But again, because the current administration is so terrible, anything that comes the way of our people, they will take it. They will see it as something better than what they have now. Then it will be like 1979. Taylor was bad. He was a monarch, all right? But the Liberian people...
1997, you said 79.
Oh, thank you. 1979. Thank you, Dennis, for correcting me. 1997, Taylor was bad, but for some reason, I'm not so for some reason, the fact was Liberians were united on what they wanted. They wanted peace. Peace for them meant that they needed a guy with the bigger guns at the time to be the president. That was the only way they could get peace that they wanted. So it's the case today. What Liberians want now is to see President Weah out. Whoever goes against him, in my opinion, they will vote for that person. You're talking about a guy who is dancing zombie when in fact he has a bodyguard being killed on the very trip that he's on, and he's dancing zombie, and somebody thinks that because he has erected two light poles in Southtown, in bombing, and here and there, those lights that will go off anyway, that light does not put food on the people's table. People are hungry. The young people are looking for a job. They can't find it. Who do they point their fingers at? They point their fingers at President Weah. They point their fingers at the CPP, or the CTC. So in my opinion, at the end of the day, as important as vision is, plans are, the thing is a unified CPP will do it. But I think Cummings will make a much better sense compared to Boakai. But I maintain Boakai comes with numbers, and so there where the politics will be.
Dennis.
I know you. Okay, 30 seconds.
Yeah, I hope the CPP make the kind of mistake that Ansony is making, believing that the Liberian people want to see George Weah go so bad to the point where they will pick anything. I hope the CPP make that mistake because it will be at their political peril. They will quickly realize that the president enjoyed massive support in that country. The president, by citing the president's connection to his constituency, to say that those things are demeaning the office of the president, I encourage the CPP to make that mistake. They will discover it at their own political peril because they will squarely be defeated by George Weah if they had the belief that Liberians are so desperate to get George Weah out of office. The reverse will happen if they go with that.
1 second. What answer that, Dennis, is Darius Dillon. He did it 2 times. All it took was CPP decided that they were going with Darius Dillon in CDC stronghold in Monrovia. He massively dragged them with their nose bleeding with blood. They have never experienced that before. So that's the answer there.
Another 30 seconds come by.
Yeah, 30 seconds come by, and that will be the end. We'll move on.
George Weah and Darius Dillon had never appeared on the same ticket. Stop making no kind of mistake. There's a difference when George Weah is heading the ticket. Again, let the CPP make that mistake. Let it keep looking at Monserrado County without George Weah on the ticket and look at Mosorado County with George, we are on the ticket. Those are the kind of elementary mistakes we want the CPP to make. And then they will be confronted with the political reality.
And as we say in Liberia, there is no swimming argument at the waterside. We're going to find out. But as we talk about the numbers and who's poised to win, there is a survey currently going on focus on Liberia between who's going to be the CPP candidate to face President Weah in 2023 elections. Would that be Mr. Alexander Benedict Cummings? Would that be Mr. Joseph Newman Boakai? Or will it be the spoiler, Abraham Darius DeLong? Take part in the survey and the results will be announced later on the show. Gentlemen, I think we've said a lot. Let's get some feedback from our viewers to see where we are. But before we bring in our viewers' comments, let's conclude on this one. I think that both of you are united saying Mr. Cummings is better placed to win this, but the numbers are not telling us that. Mr. Boakai, obviously, people look at it and say, well, we need the two of them to go to face President Weah. But it's obvious, former VP Boakai cannot be VP for the second time. He's older. He may not maybe rule for two terms. So that will give Cummings the chance. Cummings have never worked in government, right? He's still, in some circles, he's considered a stranger. People look at him and say, well, Mr. Cummings doesn't even have a base. Who can he rely on to say, well, these are his guaranteed voters? He doesn't have that. So people really look at Boakai to be more favorable. The two of you, I don't know where you're coming from with this Cummings thing.
Dennis, I don't know whether you're paying attention. I am not saying Cummings is going to win the primary. I explained to you and analyzed the variables that gave him a path. But if you're looking at who is more porous to win a primary, if you conduct a survey now, more people will say Boakai. But again, at the end of the day, the candidates will canvass, they will use money, they will negotiate, they will lobby, they will use all the political tools to their disposal to get the numbers that they need to win a primary to go into the general. And that is what I'm telling you. I'm not saying Cummings is going to win, but I'm saying don't count Cummings out because it will come to campaigning in the CPP, using money, using negotiation, lobbying with the other constituent parties. And I told you, Liberty Party, from what I see, is likely to support a Cummings. Whereas ALP, for sure, in Boakai's corner. But Unity Party, I said earlier, Ellen is in the midst. She can cut into Unity Party and bring some folks home because she's on the side of Liberty Party. That's why my insiders are telling me. If all variables hold constant, Cummings gets a chance. So I'm saying don't count Cummings out because when it comes to playing the politics, he might succeed. But if you just say, oh, let's just vote on an equal basis, Boakai has a chance for sure. Yes, he does. He does, certainly.
All right. So that brings me to the question. So what's your prediction for the CPP primary? Forget presidential yet.
But listen, before I make my prediction, let me make this point. And maybe the viewer, is there a reason why Ambassador Boakai worked with Ellen for 12 years? Is there a reason why Ellen, for every time Boakai put a hand up, Ellen is determined to put a hand down? Maybe that's something for people to ponder over.
Are you campaigning?
But the point, I'm not campaigning. It's just an observation. The point I said it the other night. Look, no matter the permutation, Boakai, Cummings, no matter the way they appear, I think the CDC will win the 2023 election. The point I'm making here is that Cummings will give the CPP a fighting chance. The CDC would love to have Boakai because he is the easiest to be defeated. He has all of the baggages. This is the chief of allowances. He has allowances for a general allowance, daily allowance, maintenance allowance. The man has allowance to sleep and allowance to get up. The country was paying $10,000 a month
Mr. Kunney, let me stop you. I don't think that's what the voters are looking at. We said it earlier.
What? Let's say, but you think their information gonna be hidden? They're gonna be buried in a national campaign.
No, and that's why we started with what you think voters will really be looking at. Will they be looking at, okay, this man has baggage?
They will be looking at Boakai's participation in the 12 years of corruption under Ellen Johnson.
You mean the CPP voters will be looking at that?
Oh yeah, some CPP voters are concerned about that. They're concerned about the baggage that Boakai will wear to the national election. They are concerned. And this is why I think Mr. Cummings has the advantage. There are certain things that are emanations on his side. For example, I mean, you can't say you will fight a problem if you can't call it when certain people are involved. Corruption.
You said that before.
Yeah, but listen, corruption is corruption. We should stop this tribalization of corruption, politicization of corruption, regionalization of corruption. When somebody is involved in it, let's call it out and stop finding the sweetest way to say it because the person is closer to us. Those are
Dennis quickly.
Yeah, no, let me finish with Mr. Kunney now to give me his prediction for the CPP primary.
Mr. Cummings will emerge victorious in the primary.
Mr. Sieh.
Thank you. Well, this is what I'm going to say before I come to my prediction. Dennis, should Cummings become victorious in the primary to become the CPP nominee or candidate, the narrative for the CPP will be better, will be advantageous. Should they get or end up with Ambassador Boakai as the candidate, the narrative will be tough, like we said earlier, because of Unity Party being a baggage. They were there for 12 years. They have a lot of things in their closet that are not pleasant for the Liberian people to swallow. So selling Ambassador Boakai on the narrative, I'm emphasizing, on the narrative will be difficult. With Cummings, the narrative will be better because they will be looking into the future. Now the issue of vision, the issue of plans, the issue of credibility will become a defining factor. All right. But with Boakai, the issue of credibility is through the window. CDC does not have credibility. Unity Party does not have credibility. Now, the CPP will not have credibility. Already, the CPP is in the mud because of its association with the very Unity Party and some other people who, quote unquote, have a cloud hanging on them. So, to my prediction, and my prediction is like 70% chance of this succeeding, that if the politics will be played as I described earlier, then chances are that Cummings will win the primary. And the other reason I say that is because of money. Money will be a factor. The Liberty Party, they got individuals that got some money. Ellen is behind the curtains. Cummings got some money. So at the end of the day, they will play this thing that Omen Boakai, Nasare, or Ambassador Joseph Yuman Boakai, and the Unity Party folks will run out of money. And then there were, should they decide to keep the peace, he will win it, and then they will go on to win the presidency. So that's my prediction. 70% Cummings stand a chance, and then 30% Boakai stand a chance. And I want to be wrong on this one. I want to be wrong.
Next is, if based on what you're saying, Cummings emerges as the standard bearer. Mm-hmm. Let's do the combination now. Who will be Cummings' vice presidential candidate? Your prediction. Or who, not merely prediction, but who will be better to run along with Cummings to unseat President Weah?
The factors or the variables that will put Cummings at the top to be the candidate will be Liberty Party. And so he will have to look in the Liberty Party. That is the deal that's going to be struck for him to get to the top. So that person must come from the Liberty Party. Chances are that it might be DeLong, and the only way will not be DeLong if DeLong decides not to take it and might want to give other Cummings the opportunity to decide whoever he wants. I'm not fascinated by the Nyomli factor. Politically, she's weak. But again, because of the Bassa belt, whoever she is, the Bassa belt will come in the corner of the CPP. So they will just be looking at that. But again, I think he will be looking at Darius Dillon because Dillon excites the base. Dillon political language resonates with the younger people, especially those in the Bassa belt and also in the Morovia area, and they need that base to get them to the top.
Mr. Kunney, assuming your prediction holds through and Mr. Cummings is the winner of the primary, who will be a better candidate to be his running mate?
I don't have a candidate by name, but I have an institution by name. If Mr. Cummings prevail as the standard bearer of the CPP, I think it would be best for the collaboration for Mr. Cummings to pick his vice standard bearer from the Unity Party, someone who can be president, because that should be the standard for picking a vice president, someone who is ready to be president on day one. I think if Mr. Cummings looks deeply in the Unity Party, he might be able to find some talents, some upcoming talent. I mean, the entire Unity Party is not corrupt. I'm not going to make that statement. There are some talents that are within the Unity Party. It would not be politically helpful if you were to take a running mate from the Liberty Party, because then the forces that will come against him in the CPP will be strong. He will be facing antagonism from the ALP and the Unity Party combined. That will weaken the CPP candidate. So my advice would be look in the Unity Party, find a real good talent, someone who has the ability to be president, and make that person your running mate.
And that has been the challenge, right? Because of the presence of these quote-unquote political leaders or lifetime standard bearers, you don't find anybody else in these parties. And you are right, not everybody in the Unity Party is tainted, should be able to find one. But here are some of the names that are coming up in the Liberty Party. Edith Gonglo Ware, who hails from Nimba, will be, according to people, will be a very good running mate. What do you think?
Well, I think Cummings can make that choice. Should he feel comfortable? I'm sure he's going to look at the possibility of her bringing a huge chunk of votes from Nimba, because we know Prince Johnson will surely be on the side of the CPP. And so how do
Prince Johnson
you...
will be on the side of the CPP or CDC?
I mean, on a CDC, sorry.
Okay.
Prince Johnson will be on the side of the CDC. So that is a calculation he might make. Ida Gonglo, yes, for sure, she had some level of popularity. She can give the CPP, if not 40, maybe 35% of the vote from Nimba. So yeah, he can decide to make that calculation.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. If you are just joining us, this is Focus on Liberia. We are discussing Alexander Cummings versus Joseph Boakai for the heart and soul of the CPP. Who is better to head the party and possibly unseat President George? This is Tough Talking Thursday, and we are coming to you live from Atlanta, Georgia. Let's bring in some of our folks here, and we're going to be let's get a lot of comments here coming. Fatima Fala said, Cummings has invested $1 million into health, education, entrepreneurship, arts, and youth empowerment in Liberia. Anthony Gay said, great show. Cummings is the only opposition political leader who has remained engaged with people since 2017 elections. Pro-poking if electability, who can win over the independent and disenfranchised sedition? I think Propo is saying that will be the factors that CPP voters will be looking at. Our friend Tobasi Are you Mr. Christopher Tobasi? Yes. That is too long, and he's writing the same thing. He said, I will support President Weah and every indigenous child after President Weah's administration. Okay. We're talking about CPP candidates, so it's not about President Weah. Martin Brown, Dennis, Liberian politics is not really about the person with a deep pocket or huge cash, so to speak. Liberians vote on love, popularity, and who they have been interacted with for a very long time. Winston Tudmore can relate. Liberians rejected him because he has no constituent. I think he's taking a job at Cummings here. Francis Wilson, good point, Sieh. After all the monetary gray areas in this administration, investors want to see a leader they can trust with their money. If we can muster a trustworthy government, we will have a problem. However, since the general voting populace are not informed about the monetary matters, it may boil down to who they know, but don't discard the DeLong possibility. Let me read a few more comments and then we go back to you. Francis Patrick Kennedy, CPP does not have serious presidential candidates. ABC working for a well-established company with templates put in place is different from controlling a whole country. Economist Ellen can relate, guys. And that's the criticism they take. And Koyan James, no disrespect to JNB, but if we really want advancement, both the economic and justice sector, ABC, ADD is the way to go. Stephen saying JNB can win election without Liberty Party leadership. Most of the partisans would not go with him. Gentlemen, those are a few of our comments here. Let me read the last one. Is watching, Seattle Townsend is watching from the greater state of Texas. Mr. Kunney said it right. It's time to drain the swamp. Mr. Kunney, you're talking about drain the swamp. I think the place is swampy right now, but let's respond to some of our comments. Let me start with you, Mr. Kunney.
Yeah, it's time to drain the swamp, and clearly, Ambassador Boakai cannot be anybody to drain the swamp. He lives in the swamp. He's a swamp creature, to put it simply. But some of the points made against Mr. Cummings, they are legitimate points, because I mean, despite the impressive CV, the impressive accomplishment, Liberians are reminded about what was said about Ellen. Madam Sieh was this accomplished finance minister. She had worked with the international organization, the World Bank, the United Nations, and she brought all of these international connections to Liberia. At the end of the day, Dennis, we are still planting light pole in Monrovia after 12 years of our leadership. We are still digging pipes to give water in Monrovia. So Liberians are right to be skeptical. Sometimes when we take all these accomplishments, and say, oh, this is what the president is, that does not necessarily translate to good leadership. And the early example is a stark reminder to Liberians that, look, we should be very, very, very skeptical when people come with all these impressive credentials. Can you imagine, during Ellen's administration, Liberia attended the G8 summit? What other international connection we needed? We're down with Queens. We're down with the rich people, the rich nations of the world. And today, as we speak, the country still face very, very serious challenges. And this will be the burden that Mr. Cummings will bear in the election. That with all of these accomplishments, the question Liberians will be asking themselves is, can these things really relate to improving my own welfare? These are Mr. Cummings' accomplishments. But what would I accomplish under his leadership? And that's the question people will be asking.
Dennis, I'm going to make a point on Boakai here first, which is he has earned himself a political sympathy. What do I mean? He came closest to President Weah. Majority of Liberians, and that is a fact, don't see President Weah as the Weah they thought he would have become. No. And so there is a huge disappointment in terms of his leadership. The CDC paper can shake his head whichever way. It is just the fact. So what I'm saying is because Boakai came close, he didn't get it. Weah got it. Weah is a disappointment. So their thinking is maybe the old man would have been a better choice. That alone, in the minds of the ordinary Liberians, is key. That is when it comes to the national election. Now, for the primary, these are political actors, politically active people. Remember now, Dennis, in the CPP framework, they said you got to be known, you got to be active, and you got to be visible. So the politically active, known, and visible individuals will be the delegates. And they will be looking at, will be using their political eyes. People are hungry.
Mr. Sieh, let me stop you there. Do we even know that they will be using the delegate system? Maybe yes, because they did one in Nimba County. Or would they be going from county to do primaries? Do we know which route they're going to take?
Well, I hope our friend Ben Sanley can call in to let us know. I can only assume, and so folks listening to us, please bear with me for assuming. I can only assume that the primary will be from county to county. That I can assume. But again, don't count on that. But what I know in a national primary, we say we practice in democracy, right? So let a candidate canvass from county to county. And then in each county, there should be a primary so that the constituent, the delegates that can decide county by county. And then at the end of the day, they decide their candidate. That I would think. That I'm assuming. But again, this is Liberia. We know things are done the other way around for the most part. So the point I was making earlier, that sympathy that Boakai has, it applies to the general and presidential election. That is when he is on the ticket. And that will be the only plausible thing for him. But the baggage from the Unity Party will continue to weigh him down, thereby giving the CDC ammunition to bombard him from every corner. Now, will that give the CDC a chance? My guess is that it will give them a narrative against Boakai. But with Cummings, the candidate, the CPP will have a better narrative because he does not have any baggage in terms of corruption and all that. It will give them a better narrative. So I'll repeat my point, Dennis, for the sake of this analysis here, that if the CPP decide a candidate, whoever that candidate is, once they remain united, they stand a chance of beating George Weah. But they will have a much better appeal to the electors who are tested for something clean. DeLong carried himself as a clean guy. Liberians went for him. So there is this emerging thirst for cleanness, for something better. I don't, for lack of better word, I don't want to use political righteousness. That would not be a good word. But people are looking for something decent in our politics. They are tired with the old ways. And I think Cummings represents that to the greater extent. And the only reason is because he has not been tainted politically.
Mr. Kunney, right now, I said it before, there's a bare knuckles fight going on between supporters of ANC and supporters and members or partisans of the Unity Party. They are fighting.
They have the right to fight. And, Ansony don't want to speak to that fight. He just keep dragging President Weah. And I'm holding my fire on that because I know we'll discuss President Weah. It's not that I don't have anything to rebut what Ansony is saying when it comes to the CDC and President Weah. But the fact of the matter is the CPP, the supporters of the two individuals are fighting in the CPP, and they have they have to do that because it is the future of their collaboration. It is the future of their collaboration. You have a clearly very fraudulent candidate and going against an unknown candidate. I mean, that's the problem they face. You find one candidate that has all this baggage of corruption and fraud, and then you have another candidate who is generally not known for various reasons that we talk about here. So they have to make that assessment of the ambassador and of Mr. Cummings, because at the end of the day, it is maybe one of the two that will emerge as the candidate for the CPP. And like I said earlier, for me, no matter who emerges, I mean, I still see a clear victory for the CDC come 2023.
Does anyone see a breakup in the CPP based on the result from the primary or whatever process they're going to do? Do you see heated argument that may result into people going their separate ways and running independent or something else? Like we saw in Nimba when Ta Wongwe decided to go independent. Would there be a crack in the CPP as a result of a very nasty primary?
I don't think so. I mean, if you look at Mr. Cummings' track record, I don't think so. If you look at his track record at holding the CPP together, if you look at his commitment to what he sees as a CPP unity to unseat President Weah, if the contest would be between Alexander B. Cummings and Ambassador Boakai, I don't see a Cummings breaking away because he did not get the nomination. I see him, I think his desire to get Weah out of office will supersede whatever wrong. We saw that he demonstrated that in Nimba. He was willing.
But do you see Boakai breaking away?
No, but Boakai has no ability to do anything. Seriously, I mean, he has no ability to do anything, Dennis. I mean, break away to go where? Nowhere. He can't get elected by himself. People keep talking about the votes he got against Weah. The man was in a competition where Weah had lost all the 15 counties. You know, 1-on-1 between he and Weah. He lost all 15 counties. So I don't know why
he lost 14. But let me go to Mr. Sieh.
Dennis, I will share similar thoughts that Mr. Kunney just shared, because I'm looking at the two individuals. He mentioned the issue of Nimba. It was contentious. It was not looking pretty. ANC folks have been beating their drum. Let's get out of the CPP. Unity Party, associating ourselves with Unity Party is not good for our image. They have stayed there. We saw that play out in Grand Cayman County. All right. The CPP again, more like was politically played. And yet ANC did not get out. Mr. Cummings did not listen to some calls, from his ranks and file for them to put out. We saw that play in District 19 with Fubi hearings. Unity Party fell a candidate undercover, I'm told. Liberty Party fell a candidate undercover, I'm told. Talking about James Salisa Diba. My understanding is that he's associated with the Liberty Party. And most of all, Darius DeLong, who enjoys the greatest support among all the candidates, including Unity Party, did not campaign for the ANC CPP candidate in that district. That was profound. And yet, the ANC did not make a decision to get out. I think it is late now for the ANC to get out. If they want to get out, they better know what they're holding on to. And I have something to share with you that I want the ANC war room to take into consideration. So let me end my point here. No, I don't see that. Kunney is right. The idea to make President Weah a one-term president, all right, I think is supreme, and I think that would be the cohesive force that will make them to come together at the end of the day. Yes, Mr. Kunney is right. Where is Boakai going? Should he not get the nomination? Where is he going? Is he going to CPP? Does he have the political ability to be able to go to, like, okay, let me go to MPP and take MPP out of the CDC. He does not have it. Can he go to the remote coalition? In that remote coalition, you have Mr. Simeon Freeman. Freeman is bombastic against the CPP, especially the Unity Party folks. No, he doesn't fit there. The only place Boakai fits where he can take cover politically is in the CPP. Minus the CPP, Boakai is politically irrelevant in the political process. Kunney is right. 14 counties out of 15 against we are. No, he doesn't have it. So I'm saying this to say that, yes, they have every reason to stick together. And my prediction or my guess is that should Boakai not get the nomination, he will stay in the CPP. And also, should Cummings not get the nomination, he will stay in the CPP. And if Boakai should get the nomination, I'm quite sure Boakai will make Cummings his running mate, thereby giving Cummings a clean slate to the presidency. Because when he becomes vice president candidate, should they win, Boakai will not contest a second term. Chances are that he might not even end the first 6 years term because he will be 80 and when inaugurated. By the time he gets to 84, he might not be politically active, and Cummings will be our guy. That is a path for him also. So Cummings has two paths. Either way, he should be in the mix, and Boakai has only one path, so he will stay. The collaboration must hold, should hold. That is my guess, but we can tell.
And quickly, Dennis, quickly, if should Cummings lose the nomination and pull away from the CPP, it will damage him politically, in the sense that, I mean, it would be seen as he was willing to go at great length to maintain the unity of the CPP when others were affected. And
Right.
now that he's affected, he's walking away. So I don't think it would be a good narrative. That and many other reasons would make Mr. Cummings to stay in the CPP, even if he doesn't win the nomination.
Few more comments, and then we're going to be closing shortly. It's been a tough talking Thursday. You guys are tough, and the analysis, I don't know if you can find it anywhere else. We want people from the Unity Party, from the CPP, from the ANC, listen, get this clip, and learn. Let's get a few more comments. Sieh Townsend said, that's the toughest truth. You talking now, Ansony Sieh. Steve Seven said, love those guys. Oh no, leave those guys. Meaning us, maybe. I thought it was love. We need some love here, man, Steve. Samuel Sakama, if politics is truly about numbers, then you people are sleeping. You will wake up at the primary. The dynamics in 2017 have changed. Emmanuel
Dudu.
Samuel says, if politics is truly about numbers, we read that. Koyan James, UPP can win, but will they develop the country? No. He said Unity Party can still win. Unity Party can get out. JNB will still win.
How is that possible?
Yeah, how? Murphy Deco, this is your other analyst. Kunney is completely confused. How can you call JNB, who went to a runoff during the 2017 election, a nobody? This is very sad for CDC analysis. You should be making such analysis under the sycamore tree and not on this decent platform. Mr. Sieh, why you find that funny?
Well, the sycamore tree is an attractive phrase, in a political world of Liberia, especially for the CDC.
He didn't give any rebuttal. He didn't rebut the fact that Ambassador Boakai was defeated soundly both in the first round of the election and in the second round. So I don't know what he means.
Alligator said clear victory for CDC based on what record? But again, Liberians are sometimes just so hard to get anything right. But Weah has proven his incapacity, but Liberians are just something else. And I like when people say Liberians. Mind you, they are Liberians. They are taking themselves out. I'm good, but the rest of the people are bad. Aku Joseph Kroman, ABC would not get votes enough from Bong Nimba, Lofa, Mangibi, Bassa, Cape Mount, and the rest of the other counties to win any election. Wow. Some people get to be Martin, Wilmot Brown. I hope you guys will not leave the Jewel Howard factor as well within the ruling party. The internal wrangling within the ruling party will also play a major crack within the CDC collaboration. And we can bring in the Jewel Howard factor, but bring that in when it comes to the CPP. People are saying that there could be some wrangling, internal wrangling with the VP and the president, and that's going to favor CPP because they will start, romancing the VP and get the NPP vote. Let's quickly touch on the Jewel Howard factor. How Jewel Howard, we have Lehman Bowie, and all these powerful women out there. How will their participation, or what can they do to benefit the CPP, or is the CPP even thinking in their direction to get some support from them?
Dennis, earlier I said I was keeping something to advise the ANC folks. That was the Joel Howard Taylor factor. The discussion is pretty much on the primary, but the Joel Howard Taylor factor comes in when you're going into the general. That is why I'm keeping that to. But since that viewer brought it in, I think it's significant to the discussion. What I will advise the CPP as a whole to do is to pull Joel Howard Taylor out of the CDC arrangement. Clearly, she's not happy. She has expressed it so many times. She's in political pain. The only reason she's there is because of the money, but she will get out. I don't see how a Joel Howard Taylor or Vice President Joel Howard Taylor will stay with the CDC. I mean, she's a very intelligent woman. She's ambitious. I know she's calculative, but let her forgive me for saying if she should stay with the CDC after she has complained about the behavior and the treatment. I would drop my 100% respect for her to zero. To zero. Because she did everything to make the CDC to capture state power. CDC tried 3 times, I believe. CDC did not succeed. CDC tried 2 times. CDC did not succeed. CDC tried with her, and CDC got the presidency. Does CDC respect her for that? I don't think so. Their behavior is evidentiary. And that is why it would be a right decision to tell the CDC, bye-bye, I've had enough. So now it would be left with the CPP now, how they will coach her politically to pull her in their corner. And even to the point that whoever wins the CPP nomination, I will not hesitate to advise that person to go for her. You're talking about Bond County. You're talking about the Peda Eglet tribe or any group, which is the largest. Politics, people say it's local. She's from Bond County. The people of Bond, the Pella people, definitely will vote for her. Given the pains that she's going for now, they pity her. And the only way they can better tell her sorry for the humiliation that CDC is melting on her mindlessly is to say, man, we'll vote for you whichever way you go. I think that is a key factor there.
Mr. Kunney, Jewel Howard Taylor.
And why is he laughing? Is the Bella ball so difficult for him to swallow?
There's no Bella ball. I'm just looking at your attempt at I don't know whether that instigation or the propaganda.
I don't do propaganda, you know.
We are winding this thing down.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, Madam Taylor is a very, very important part of the CDC coalition. In every institution, there are political wranglings, and I don't know how people will take these little wranglings and elevate it to the level where some people are elevating it. She's committed to the pro-poor agenda. She's committed to the president. They are working together. And I am very confident that at the end of the day, they will, they will continue to work together. So all that thing Ansony talking, I don't even see it. It's not foreseeable. Where else can she go to claim the kind of political relevance, the kind of important role she's playing, that she's playing in the CDC government? I mean, she loved the party, the partisans love her, and they're gonna work together. So if that is the CPP dream, to block Madam Taylor from the CDC, again, they can be dreaming. They can be dreaming a lot of things, but like I said, the reality is there.
Thank you.
The CDC paper.
Thank you. Now we have 3 minutes to close. So I'll give each of you 1 minute to make your concluding statement on the CPP primary and a potential winner to unseat or make Josh Weah a one-term president. Let me start with the CDC paper, as Mr. Ansony Sieh is saying.
I will address that, but I will not reach to the level where they will unseat George Weah. I mean, they're not going to unseat George Weah. They don't have the ability to unseat George Weah. But clearly, what I can say is that in the CPP primary, Mr. Alexander Cummings is still a better chance at giving the CPP a fighting chance against the CDC. As to whether he can win a general election, that's an entirely different question. I mean, it makes no political sense to go with Ambassador Joseph Imam Boakai, 12 years of failure, 12 years of all of this, the legalized thievery of the Liberian people money with all kinds of allowances that stretch from here. He's not going to survive that narrative. So I think, comparing the two, I see Mr. Cummings as the one that would be the best to represent the CPP.
Then in a primary where equal delegates come from the constituent political parties, I think Cummings stands a better chance of winning because the candidates will campaign, they will lobby with the parties, money will be spent. Cummings side has the money. People in Liberia are hungry. Palestinians are hungry. They are in opposition. They need to survive. They will see that money as clean money and they will take it. Cummings has an edge there. In a primary where they say, well, if you are a member of the CPP, vote and we will count the votes, Joseph Imam Boakai has a chance again in a primary. Once you are a member of the CPP, go to the poll and vote who should be the candidate of the CPP, Joseph Imam Boakai. Because of the political sympathy that he enjoys, he wins the nomination. He will pay Cummings and they will go to flog Ambassador, now President George Weah. The CPP must stick together. Whoever becomes victorious in their primary, they stand a chance when they are united to go against the CDC. And I advise them when they get to that point, let them unplug Joel Howard Taylor from the CDC arrangement. That will even increase their chances. And the CDC paper will come to thank you later on. Say, man, Pekin, you in training, but I think you got this.
Right before the show, we got before the show, we got our polls results here. That was done before the show. So if you voted during the show as to who's going to represent the CPP, this is not counted here. And what we have here prior to the start of the show is Joseph Newman Boakai is leading with 46%, Alexander Benedict Cummings with 36%, and Abraham Darius DeLong with a distant 17%. Friday tomorrow will be our show, which is the Literary Hour. Please join Jackie Sieh and Prof. Namwe for the Literary Hour. And then on Saturday, we're going to have the notorious Bele Yela, a place of banishment of political prisoners and hardened criminals by past Liberian government. Our guest, Dr. Tim Nevin, going to be telling us about Bele Yela. You don't want to miss it. Gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for your time. I think the analysis here has been very, very fantastic. And I want to appreciate you for the fair and balanced analysis. We want to assure our viewers that you can't get this anywhere else except on Focus on Liberia, where we educate, we elevate, and promote all things Liberian. As we go into our election campaign and all that, keep your dial right here at Focus on Liberia. At this time, we're going to close, but we never close without playing that song that says, "We are all Liberians." That song is very significant. You know, I like to do a little bit of history. In Liberia, they say we have two original ethnic groups that were there long, long before. And then everybody started coming. So Liberia is a place of immigrants, all migrated. Some came from the Mali Empire. So you have the crew, the Grebos, and all the Kwa-speaking group. They were on the sail on boat. The Pele, the Kisi, the Mano, the Dan, and the Man came on foot, and everybody converged on this land called Liberia. Either they were running from diseases or they were running from the rulership of harsh kings because they wanted to be free, and that's why Liberia became that land of liberty. Then came later on the free or the ex-slaves also seeking freedom. So we all converged on this land called Liberia, and there we are today. My history tells me that even the slave trade did not affect it much because the ships couldn't sail right there. When you come back, unless a crewman helps you to go back, your ship going to sink in that ocean, in that sea. And so Liberia has been that area of freedom. That's why if you see today Liberians, a little bit of carefree attitude, that is for 400 years ago. We've been doing that. We've been acting that way because we came on this show to be free, to govern ourselves. And that's why we need to remind ourselves that we are all Liberians. No matter you support Joseph Newman Boakai in the primary, Alexander Cummings, or Yombli Kangan, we are all Liberians, or you support none of them. Or you believe President Weah is doing a fantastic job, or he's doing a terrible job. We are still Liberians, and we must all do the best we can to make our country the glorious land of liberty. Thank you, folks. Good night, and God bless you.
We are Liberians. Liberia is our